Hello, and welcome back to the Goodness Margin, the place where we find margin for the good things in life. Today, I want to talk to you about some simple tips for a road trip that you're taking in the car. We have taken several trips with our family. We have a 15-year-old son and a 5-year-old little girl. And sometimes these trips can be amazing and sometimes they can be a little bit stressful. And so I just want to share with you some things that we have learned that have helped us. But first, if you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel here. You can hit the bell where you'll be notified when the next video goes live. So let's get started on these quick tips. First, I recommend bringing one pillow and one blanket per child in the car. I know this may seem like extra stuff, especially since I'm a minimalist. But the reality is that this really helps your kids. If the temperature is not right in the car, there's a blanket for them. Then once you get to the hotel, each person has an additional pillow. And that way, if there aren't enough pillows in the hotel, I personally love to sleep with at least 2 pillows. And so it's great if my daughter has her own pillow and I can borrow that other pillow. So I have 2. But bringing one pillow and one blanket for each kid has really been something that has helped us. The next tip is really important. At each stop you make, throw any trash that's in the car away, even if it is just a gum wrapper. If you get rid of trash each time you stop, it makes a huge difference. I try to clean my car out before we go on a road trip. And then sometimes when we get home, you would think it had been months since we'd cleaned the car out because you're stopping and getting snacks and you're eating and all kinds of things like that. And so it can quickly add up. So if each time you stop, you just make a habit of grabbing all the trash, throwing it in the nearest trash can, it will make a big difference. The third tip is before your trip, make a stop at the library or shop your own library. I know my son loves to read books, and we do try to minimize media time a little bit in the car rather than being on an iPad or the phone the entire trip. And if we pick up a couple of books by his favorite author, he is going to have his nose in a book quite a bit. And we may pick up a few books for my daughter, but if you have a younger child and you're kind of worried about traveling with library books, what I will do is I will go to her library and I will pull a couple of books, especially some of the paperback books. Those are inexpensive. If we lost them, it wouldn't be the end of the world. And so I grab several of those that maybe she hasn't looked at in a while, and I stick those in her backpack. She'll pull them out and it's like she has a brand new library. So it's something fun and new for her to do. The fourth tip is play random car games. Some of you may have done some of these when you were kids before we had iPads in the car. And we've brought some of these games back as our family. And it's kind of interesting because you would think that only your little kids would be interested in some of the games, but our teenager will get involved. Some of the examples are the ABC game. So you're driving through the mountains and you say, find something that starts with an A, and my son will spot a Honda Accord. And so that starts with an A. Or a B is a branch. So anything that starts with that letter, and you go through that, and it can really be a lot of fun. And it is definitely something that takes up time. And so another game that you could play is I Spy. I spy something green, there's grass on the ground, all kinds of things like that. It's a lot of fun and your kids will get involved with that. And it's something that you can do together as a family to kind of pass the time and have some fun. The fifth tip, while we were talking earlier about media time, I do try to limit that time, but I also want to be sure that I have downloaded podcast, music, videos, whatever that you want. Be sure to download those things before your trip, because I know on a lot of places that we travel, we will go through large pockets of time that we don't have access to the internet. And so I really like to be sure that I've downloaded those things. But another thing that we do is we will choose pieces of time that are media free time. So we may say, okay, the first hour of the trip, no iPads, no phones, no media. We're just going to enjoy each other's company, look out at the beautiful scenery. Or we live pretty close to the Great Smoky Mountains. And so we may say, okay, as soon as we enter the park, it's time to shut down all media and we're going to look around and enjoy the scenery. So just do what works for your family, but create those little things where that your kids know what to expect. We know that coming up, we're having 1 hour of no media, or coming up, we're turning the iPads off. Or as soon as we leave the park, now we can turn our iPad back on. Another tip is about snacks. If you have heard me talk in one of my previous videos, which I will link that below. I talk about how I prepare my home when we're leaving for vacation or leaving for a trip out of town. One of the things I do is I clean out my refrigerator. And so while you're looking through your refrigerator, grab those snacks from your refrigerator and from your pantry. Your loaf of bread is probably going to go bad while you're gone for a week. So go ahead and make up a few peanut butter sandwiches, put them in a Ziploc bag. Grab some carrots, some apples, go ahead and wash them, put them in some baggies. And that way you are saving money by having those snacks already available for your kids because you know they're going to be hungry on the trip. For myself, I know that I would like to grab my favorite granola bars and be sure that I have something to snack on the trip. And then you're also keeping from wasting all of those things in your refrigerator. The seventh tip is something I've shared with you before, but I feel like it bears repeating. Pack light. Sometimes certain people want to pack for every emergency possible. I find that it's pretty rare that we have emergencies on a trip, and worst case scenario, I have to stop into the local CVS there where our destination is and grab something. I would prefer for us, we each use a carry-on suitcase. We try to do that no matter where we're going. And so we each have that, and then we each usually have a backpack. And that way we don't have to pay someone to bring our luggage to our room. We don't have to hassle with anything like that. We each have a suitcase. We each have a backpack. It's very simple. We pack very light. And so with those suitcases, my very last tip is to choose a suitcase to be your dirty clothes suitcase. On our last trip we went on, we unpack, usually two of the suitcases are about as the most that we can unpack into the drawers that are in the room. And then two of us use those suitcase stands to put our suitcases on. And so that first suitcase that's empty, all of the dirty clothes go in that suitcase. And once it's full, we zip it up and we go ahead and take it to the car. Because I don't know about you, but hotel rooms are pretty small, and anything that I can remove from that space really is helpful. And so then once we get home from a trip, we usually have two suitcases that are toiletries and clean clothes, and then two suitcases that are dirty clothes. And what we'll do is our kids know as soon as we get in the door, we bring everything upstairs, go ahead and completely unpack. And so I take those two dirty clothes suitcases and I pretty much just dump them into the washing machine. And now I start that load of laundry and I'm already really far ahead in getting completely unpacked and back to normal after a vacation. These are just a few of the tips that have helped me keep my sanity on these long road trips. I hope these tips have helped you. And I would love for you to comment below, what is your favorite road trip tip?